Welcome in or welcome back. So I'm going to be reading from the Two Worlds Path scripture. I'm going to be continuing chapter 2 from the Sacred Bond, the book of the Sacred Bond. I just did like a whole other video where I was going to read from this, but I ended up not being able to because I had too much stuff I needed to talk about, I guess. So we're just gonna jump right in. I don't need to do any updates or housekeeping or whatever. Okay. Alright, so we were on part 3, Hindu and Vedic traditions. We ended off with the open-handed expression of love through the Kluti well offering, which I discovered upon retrospection that had actually just done that in a very interesting way that even involves some elements of I want to say Dante's Inferno, but like Orpheus and like the whole Orpheus and crap, I keep forgetting her name. The chick that he was in love with, that he went back to hell. He went to hell to try to get her, and then that he was told, like, don't look back. I didn't look back, bitch. That's all I gotta say. The rules is the rules. Alright, so the Hindu tradition has produced one of the world's most developed and nuanced systems of thought about the formation of loving bonds, drawing on millennia of philosophical reflection, astrological wisdom, and communal practice. The path receives from this tradition multiple teachings of great depth. The ancient texts enumerate Asha Ta Vidha Vivaha. That's a freaking mouthful. A, S as in Sam, H, T as in Tom, A, V, I, D, H, A, space, V, I, V, A, H, A. Okay? The 8 forms of marriage, which name the full range of ways in which union may arise, from the most honored forms of mutual consent and communal blessing to the least honored forms involving coercion, and including forms that involve mutual desire without formal arrangement. The naming of all 8 was itself an act of honest wisdom, a refusal to pretend that love and union always arise through the ideal path. Of the 8, the path draws particular attention to 2. Brahma Viva is the highest form, the union of 2 people arranged with full respect, mutual consent, and the blessing of both families, a union in which character, values, and genuine compatibility are the primary criteria. The community's wisdom is fully engaged in the process of discernment. This is not forced marriage, it is communally supported, character-based matching offered freely to 2 people who have the full right to accept or decline. Next is Gandharva Viva, Gandharva space Vivah, is the form born of mutual desire and free choice, the love marriage that arises when 2 souls recognize one another and choose one another without the mediation of arrangement. This form is honored in the ancient texts not as a lesser path, but as a path of particular potency. For the love that arises from direct recognition between souls carries its own sacred authority. I've tried doing that one. Never works out for me. The path honors both forms and all honest variations between them. I shouldn't say it never works out for me. It never has worked out for me. Just say that. I don't like to limit myself, and neither should anybody. Okay? But it does not honor. Oh, what it does not honor is union that is coerced, union that serves only the interests of family or economic alliance at the expense of the souls being joined, or union in which one partner's consent has been manufactured rather than freely given. Next is Kundali matching, Kundali, or Ashtakoot Milan, ASHTAKOOT space MILAN, is the Vedic astrological system of compatibility assessment, in which the birth charts of two people are compared across 36 points organized into 8 dimensions called kutas, KOOTAS. The 8 kutas are Varna, which is the spiritual compatibility and evolutionary direction of the souls; Vasya, the natural affinity and quality of mutual influence between partners; Tara, the health and vitality that the union brings to each partner's life; Yoni, the intimate and embodied compatibility of the two people; Graha Maitri, Maitri, the compatibility of the ruling planets, speaking to the quality of the mental and emotional resonance; Gana, the temperamental nature, divine, human, or demonic nature in the traditional nomenclature, though better understood as the capacity for harmony, negotiation, and respect of differences. Bhakoot, BHAKOOT, the long-term relational destiny and financial and familial harmony; and Nadi, NADI, the health compatibility, particularly as it concerns progeny and physical well-being. The path receives Kundali matching not as a deterministic system, not as a mechanism that declares a bond impossible or inevitable, but as a contemplative map. It is a refined language for asking questions about the deep energetic texture of two people's nature. Where will they flow naturally together? Where will they require more intentional navigation? And what gifts does each carry that the other may receive? Used as a map rather than a verdict, it is a tool of remarkable depth. Next, we have here the Sayat, I don't know how to say this, SAAT space PHERE, fear. The 7 sacred rounds of the Hindu wedding ceremony is among the most complete expressions of vow making the world's traditions have produced. The couple circles the sacred fire 7 times, and with each circuit, they covenant with one another in a different dimension of shared life. The first round, they covenant to nourish one another, to feed each other's bodies, minds, and souls. The second round, they covenant to be each other's strengths, to be the one the other can lean against when their own legs cannot carry them. The third round, they covenant to cultivate prosperity, not merely of wealth, but of all the forms of abundance that a shared life may grow. The fourth round, they covenant to grow in wisdom together, to be each other's teachers, to learn from one another without shame. The fifth round, they covenant concerning the children of their love and the legacy of their bond, what they will build and what they will leave. The seventh round, they covenant to remain friends, to choose daily the companionship and delight in one another that first drew them near. 7 rounds, 7 covenants, the sacred fire is witness. The path has received the Sayat sphere fully, and its influence will be seen in the 7 vows of the path set forth in chapter 4. The application of haldi, H-A-L-D-I, turmeric, before the wedding ceremony is a rite of purification, protection, and preparation. Oh, that's interesting. The turmeric is applied to the body by beloved family members, not in solitude but in joyful community. It speaks of the wisdom that preparation for union is not a private act, but a communal one, and that the physical body, not only the spirit, is brought to the threshold of union with intention and care. I used to drink turmeric a lot. I need to start doing that again, because it really reduces inflammation, and it's super good for you, supposedly. I used to put it in my drinks, with tea and stuff. I haven't done that in a really long time. All right. So it speaks of the wisdom that preparation for union is not a private act but a communal one, and that the physical body, not only the spirit, is brought to the threshold of union with intention and care. Okay. Part 4, Jewish traditions. The Jewish tradition of Shidduch, Shidduch, the facilitated introduction of potential partners, is frequently misunderstood by those outside it as a system of arrangement that overrides individual choice. In its true and honorable form, it is something far more nuanced, a community's commitment to creating conditions in which worthy people might find one another, with dignity, with appropriate pacing, and with the full engagement of those who know the individuals best. The Shidduch process traditionally involves a third party who knows both families and can speak to the character, values, and compatibility of each. The meetings between potential partners are conducted with the full knowledge and support of each person's family or community, and both parties have the unqualified right to decline at any stage. The emphasis throughout is on character, on who a person is when no one is watching, on how they treat those who can offer them nothing, on what they value and how they live those values in the daily texture of their existence. Appearance and wealth are regarded as secondary to these. The ketubah is the Jewish marriage contracts. Okay, and it is among the oldest and most progressive legal protections for the more vulnerable partner in a marriage in the world's history. Written in Aramaic, illuminated with art, witnessed by the community, and read aloud at the ceremony, the ketubah specifies the obligations each partner takes on toward the other, including specific protections for the wife's rights, her dignity, and her economic security. This is so important for real, though. So many people jump into marriage and relationships, and they don't even talk about any type of stuff like this. They could be in a relationship for 10 years and never even discuss any of this type of stuff. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The document is a sacred artifact precisely because it holds love accountable. It says love is not merely a feeling, but a set of commitments. And those commitments are real enough to be written down, signed, and witnessed. The Remembrancers wrote, "A love that cannot be written down is not necessarily less love, but a love that refuses to be named, witnessed, or held accountable before the community is a love that is not yet ready to be trusted with another person's life." Okay, and next we have mikveh. mikveh, mikveh, immersion before marriage, is a rite of spiritual purification and readiness. The immersion of the body in living waters as a formal transition from one state of being to another. It is a practice of intentional threshold crossing. The person who enters the mikveh is the person who emerges. The person who enters the mikveh and the person who emerges are not the same. Not because anything has been washed away in shame, but because the intentions of readiness has been embodied, made physical, made real. The path honors the wisdom of practices that bring the body into the work of transition. The Bedeken, Bedeken, the veiling ceremony, is a moment of profound seeing in the midst of a wedding's public pageantry. The groom comes to where the bride is and lifts the veil to see her face, confirming that he is marrying this person, this particular beloved, and no other. The practice is rooted in the ancient story of Jacob, who intended to marry Rachel and discovered too late that he had been given Leah in her place. The Bedeken prevents this through the simple radical act of true seeing. Look at the person you're about to covenant with, see them clearly, and make certain. The path receives from the Bedeken a teaching it considers one of the most important in this entire chapter. The covenant of love must be made with the real person, not with an image, a projection, or a hope. See clearly before you covenant the fullness of the other's reality, their humanity, their particularity, their actuality is precisely what you are agreeing to love. Part 5, African traditions. The Nguni and Bantu peoples of southern Africa, Nguni, Nguni, and Bantu, I feel like it is, Bantu, of southern Africa have given the world the tradition of Lobola, Lobola, also written as Ilobolo, Lobolo, or Rora, Roora, in different language groups. A practice so frequently mischaracterized by outside observers that the path takes particular care here to name its true meaning and teaching. Lobola is often described by those unfamiliar with its depth as a bride price, a payment from the groom's family to the bride's family in exchange for the bride. This framing is not only inaccurate, but actively dishonoring of the tradition. Lobola is not purchase, it is gratitude, it is acknowledgement, and is the beginning of a relationship between two families. The gift from the groom's family to the bride's family is an act of formal acknowledgement. You raised this person. You invested your love, your resources, your years, your wisdom in bringing this person into the world and shaping them into who they are. We know that in receiving them into our family, we receive the gift of your work. We honor you for it. The bride's family, in receiving the lobola, acknowledges the groom's family as worthy partners in this joining of lineages. The negotiation of lobola is itself a ceremony of relationship, a gathering of both families, often warm, often joyful, conducted over time and involving extended family representatives who speak with the weight of their lineages behind them. It is not a commercial transaction, but a communal celebration of the bond between two families that will now share descendants. The path receives from Lobola a teaching that runs counter to the highly individualistic conception of marriage common in the contemporary Western world, that a marriage is never only between two people, but between two histories, two families, two communities. Honoring this truth rather than dismissing it creates marriages that are held and supported by the broadest possible network of care. Yeah, I love that. There's just so much separation and like everything, especially in the United States. I feel like it's just it's so embarrassing. It's like I was combining the word embarrassing. It is embarrassing, I guess. It's disempowering is what I was trying to say. But yeah, it is embarrassing too, like the mockery of what they've, made love into. They've shown of love. It's ridiculous. Okay. The Kente cloth exchange, Kente cloth exchange of the Akan people of Ghana, AKAN, is a tradition of extraordinary beauty. Kente cloth is not manufactured. It is woven strip by strip on narrow looms, with each color and pattern carrying specific meaning. Gold for royalty and wealth, green for growth and renewal, blue for peace and harmony, red for political energy and passion, black for the maturation of time and spiritual depth. The gifting of Kente cloth between partners and their families is the gifting of story woven into fabric, the literal interweaving of two lineages, colors, and patterns. Their meanings placed alongside one another. I don't know if I'm repeating this next part because I just totally lost where we were at. I got like a sharp pain in my side. I don't know, somebody watching is trying to project some shit on me, or if that's like happening to them on my right side right here. But I rebuke that shit if it is some type of projection. In the name of the Most High, Elohim Adonai, and the Holy Ghost is with the Mostest. Okay. And if it's not, and I'm just feeling someone's pain, I wish you healing. And if it's just me having pain for whatever logical reason, I wish myself healing. Okay? Alright, so the teaching the path receives partnership is the weaving together of two distinct stories into something new, without either story being dissolved into the other. The individual strips remain themselves, identifiable, particular, and together they become something neither could be alone. Alright, next we have the tradition of jumping the broom. Carries a history that is both painful and triumphant. Carried forward most visibly in African American tradition, the practice of the couple leaping together over a broom held by community members at the threshold of their married life has roots in survival. In communities whose formal bonds were denied legal recognition, and who created their own sacred acknowledgement in the face of that denial. That this tradition has not only survived but become a beloved and widely practiced expression of Black love is itself a testimony to love's power to create meaning where systems of oppression would deny it. The symbolism of the broom is rich. It sweeps away the old life, the past, the accumulated weight of what was before, and the shared leap over it is the shared entry into the new. The couple does not jump separately and then meet on the other side. They jump together in the same moment before the watching community. The path honors this tradition fully and receives its teaching. The threshold is crossed together, witnessed, and celebrated by all who love you both. Next, we have part 6, East Asian traditions. The Chinese tradition of the red thread of fates, Hong Shan, I don't know how to say that, XIIN, is among the most poetically resonant of the world's love mythologies. The moon god Yu Lao, YUE_LAO, is said to tie an invisible red thread around the ankles of those who are destined to find one another. Interestingly enough, I witnessed 2 people looking at my ankle in the astral. They keep, because I wear ankle bracelets a lot, like recently, I would say probably over the past like four months, I've been wearing them pretty regularly. And I've been thinking like they're like inspecting it for some reason. Like why do they keep looking at my ankle bracelet? And then like I put charms on one of them that has like dragon beads on it. Like I forget the name of the gemstone, but it's got dragon's blood in it or whatever. And I put a dream catcher charm and a butterfly charm on it, and then like it's like something or someone like took them off. They were just like laying on my bed. I thought that was really weird for them both to come off at the same time. It's like somebody took them off. And that was after I got like severely attacked. So I'm thinking there was something going on there that's causing issues with my protections or something. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I don't know. Because there's like the butterfly clan, and I've read about that through the Earth Astrology, the Medicine Wheel book. And I find it all to be very beautiful messages and stuff. And I've explained how I've seen like the butterfly clearing energy and stuff, so it has a lot of meaning to me. But there's something there with, I guess, it conflicts of interest or something going on there with the dragons, the dream weavers, and the butterfly clan or something. I don't really know. Anyways, okay. So, the moon god Yu Lao is said to tie an invisible red thread around the ankles of those who are destined to find one another. A thread that persists across time, across distance, across the disruptions and dislocations of earthly life, until the two who are bound by it are finally brought together. The path does not receive this tradition as a teaching of determinism, of two people who have no agency in their loving, but are merely pulled by invisible strings. Rather, the path reframes the red thread as what it calls the thread of resonance, the recognition that there are affinities of soul that run deeper than circumstance, that some encounters carry a quality of recognition that feels like memory rather than novelty, as though two people are continuing something rather than beginning it. Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. Whether this resonance is predestination or deep compatibility, whether the thread is metaphysical or psychological, the wisdom embedded in the tradition is the same. Some connections are worth pursuing through difficulty. Some loves are worth the effort of finding, keeping, and tending across the changes of a lifetime. The Japanese ritual of San Kudo, 3x3 exchange, Kudo, Kudo, and San, San, is one of the most structurally elegant of the world's union ceremonies. The couple shares 3 cups of sake, each sipped 3 times for a total of 9 sips. Then their families share from the same cups. 9 sips in all, 3 for the bride, 3 for the groom, 3 for the union between them. The number 9 carries the meaning of completion and eternity in Japanese tradition. The inclusion of both families in the sharing is the ceremony's deepest teaching. The union of 2 people is not accomplished and then introduced to the families afterward. The families are part of the ceremony itself. Drinking from the same cups, being drawn into the same bond, becoming one extended community of belonging through the shared act. The tea ceremony in Chinese wedding rites is one of the most moving expressions of respect across generations in the world's traditions. The couple kneels before the elders of both families and pours tea for them, one by one addressing each elder by their specific familial title. The elders receive the tea and in receiving it formally accept the new partner into the family. Often presenting red envelopes containing money or jewelry as tangible blessings. The act of kneeling to pour tea for elders speaks to a value that the path holds central, that wisdom which has traveled further along the road than yours deserves honor, not merely courtesy. The couple is not merely being polite. They are formally entering into relationship with the accumulated wisdom of their lineages, acknowledging that a marriage does not begin its story with the 2 people currently alive, but carries all who came before. Next we have part 7, Islamic and Middle Eastern traditions. The Islamic tradition of the Mahr, M-A-H-R, the dower, D-O-W-E-R, is a gift given by the groom to the bride alone, to be held by her entirely and used entirely according to her own determination. It is not a bride price paid to her family. It is not a symbolic gesture. It is a tangible, specified, negotiated gift that belongs to the bride from the moment the marriage contract is signed. The I can't say that, may be symbolic in its amount, or it may be substantial. I can't believe I've never even heard this word. I don't know how to say it. The teaching embedded in the tradition is one of honor and security. The woman who enters marriage does not enter it empty-handed or entirely dependent. She enters it with something that is hers, an acknowledgement from her partner of her dignity and value, and a provision for her independence should the circumstances of the marriage ever change. That's really cool. I love that. I didn't, there's a lot of stigmas placed on like Islam and Muslim cultures where they don't treat the women as equals or fairly or whatever. And yeah, I just know there's a lot of misinformation with a lot of different cultures and stuff. But anyways, there is some coercion, like we said in the beginning, like there is some coercion involved, I feel like in every culture or every like region, but it's never just that, you know what I mean? There's always going to be the other side, and the other side is something that people aren't fully aware of a lot of the time. The nikah ceremony, Nikah, the Islamic marriage contract, is built around a moment that the path considers one of the most spiritually essential in any union ceremony: the explicit witnessed verbal consent of the woman, the ijab kabul, IJAB dash QABUL. The offer and acceptance must be spoken clearly by both parties before the assembled community. They should really teach like enunciation with languages more, like in school. Like I feel like that would be a good thing to teach people, not just like, you know, basic French or Spanish, which is like pretty much all they offer in like all the schools in the United States. But like how to pronounce certain things. I'm doing the best I can here, but like I'm so unfamiliar with this. Like even like the angel names in the angel deck is so hard for me. Anyways, the offer and acceptance must be spoken clearly by both parties before the assembled community. In the classical formulation, the woman is asked 3 times if she consents, and her affirmative answer must be given without hesitation or ambiguity. The witnesses are not decorative. They are the community's guarantee that consent has been given freely and heard. Thus, it was understood by the ancient teachers, a marriage made without the woman's clear and free consent is not a marriage, it is an enclosure. The ceremony that requires her voice requires it because her voice is the most important voice in the room. The walima, WALIMA, the wedding feast hosted after the marriage is consummated, is a communal act of joy and public announcement. In many traditions, the obligation of the walima is considered a religious duty, not because feasting is sacred in itself, but because the community's knowledge of and welcome to the new bond is sacred. Love held only in private is love unsupported. The walima brings the whole community into witness and celebration. Okay, next we have parts 8, Indigenous Australian traditions. Alright, the indigenous peoples of Australia have developed over many thousands of years of continuous cultural life. Among the world's most elaborate and thoughtful systems for determining who may partner with whom. Systems known in their various forms as skin group systems. These systems are frequently mischaracterized as restrictions, as prohibitions that limit love. The path sees them differently, as a map of relational harmony across the entire community. The skin group system identifies across generations the kinship relationships that make 2 people compatible partners at the level of community health, ensuring that genetic diversity is maintained, that kinship obligations are honored, that the social fabric of the entire group is served by each new pairing, not only the preferences of 2 individuals. Wow, I've never heard of this one. The teaching the path receives is a profound corrective to the hyper-individualism of modern romantic culture. Love is not only a matter between 2 people, it happens within a web of relationship that extends in all directions. The wisdom of considering the community as a whole in the formation of bonds is not a constraint on love, but an expression of the love that holds the entire community together. I mean, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't really fully understand what they're talking about here, but like, I definitely agree with that. A lot of people are very selfish in their pursuits of others, and there's no depth to the reason behind the relationship. It's all just purely like selfish. The tradition of ceremonial readiness carries an equally important teaching. In many Indigenous Australian communities, a person is not considered ready for partnership until they have completed the initiatory processes that mark full adulthood. Processes that may extend across years and involve the demonstration of specific wisdoms, skills, and capacities. The question is not merely, do these two people want each other? It is, are they ready? Have they become people who are capable of the full weight of a committed bond? Yeah, I mean, I really agree with that. That's why it can be so hard to find love in where you grow up and live in a region and where you have no community that of like witnesses or elders or whatever, and there is no structure or system built up to do these things. So that's my main purpose here with trying to introduce all this stuff, is to provide some kind of structure to people that have none and they're seeking it, and hopefully they find these messages and they help them. All right, Mesoamerican tradition, part 9. Wait, what? Yeah, okay. The Aztec and Mexica traditions of Mesoamerica include marriage imagery in which garments and knots can symbolize the joining of two lives. In accounts of Mexico wedding practice, the groom's cloak, the tilmatli, tilmatli, may be joined to the bride's garment in a knot, making visible the union of two households and two persons. Because the English phrase tying the knot has multiple proposed origins and a long symbolic history in many cultures, the path does not claim this ceremony as its single literal origin. It receives the image instead as one powerful expression of a much wider human language of binding and covenant. The symbolism is not of absorption. I just felt like a really bad energy. I don't know what. Something about this. So we got the sun in Virgo in the 7th house. I'm talking about relationships, and then I could see the 12th house there, the 8th house, hidden enemies, death, and then Pluto's right there, and Jupiter, Cancer and Aries and Libra. Libra. Let's say Virgo. Something about Sagittarius, Virgo, Scorpio, Mars, Pluto, the moon, North Node, 11th house, 10th house, 2nd house. Anyways, okay. Take that as it resonates. Dang, I don't even know where we were. Alright, it receives the image instead as a powerful expression of a much wider human language of binding and covenant. The symbolism is not of absorption. The garments are not merged into a single undifferentiated fabric. They are knotted, joined at a point, remaining themselves in their entirety, but now unable to fully separate without intention. Two sovereign lives choosing to be woven together. The distinction matters enormously. The path carries this teaching into its own rights. A lot of tying knots with cloth and stuff is involved in these. oh God, I'm not gonna be able to say this one. The Cihuatlanque, Cihuatlanque, the matchmakers of the Mexica tradition, occupied a formal spiritual role. Their function was not merely social facilitation, but spiritual discernment. They read the, oh God, why are these words so wild, bro? Tonal Pohuali, Tonalpohualli, the sacred calendar to understand the energetic compatibility of two potential partners, the auspicious timing for the union. And then, and then these people that don't speak English naturally might look at the word auspicious and be like, what the fuck is that? Right? So, it is what it is. Okay. And the particular challenges and gifts that the union would carry. They were, in the fullest sense, readers of destiny, not in the sense of determination, but in the sense of careful spiritual assessment of what a union might become and what it would require. I like that. That's pretty cool. All right, part 10, synthesis, what the two worlds path receives. Across all of these traditions, in their remarkable diversity of culture, geography, spiritual foundation, and social form, the path finds 5 common threads that speak to something universal in the human understanding of sacred union. The first common thread is time and testing. Many traditions include some form of sustained observance, preparation, family discernment, or communal recognition before the bond is formally made. Whether through extended courtship, family meetings, ritual preparation, initiation into adulthood, or a period of public pledge, these practices teach that the person who appears in the first warmth of attraction is not yet fully known. So the second common thread, hold on. All right, so next we have the second common thread is community witness and support. Many traditions treat union as more than a private matter. Witnesses, councils, families, elders, religious authorities, or community members may recognize, bless, or sustain the bond. The path receives from this conviction that love is strengthened when wisely witnessed and held. The third common thread is symbolic acts of care, generosity, or accountability. Many traditions ask those who would be partners to demonstrate something tangible, to offer a gift, receive a blessing, speak vows, accept obligations, or perform an act that makes intention visible. The path receives this as wisdom that words of love should be supported by embodied action. The fourth common thread is dignity and consent. Because living traditions have been practiced across time within many structures of power, gender, family, and social constraints, the path receives only those forms and interpretations that honor genuine consent, dignity, and freedom. The fifth common thread is the weaving of families, communities, and histories. Whether expressed through family negotiations, ceremonial meals, formal contracts, elder blessings, or rites of welcome, many traditions understand that two individuals in love are also two stories entering relationships. Honoring this web of connection can strengthen rather than diminish the bond at its center. Blessed are all the traditions of the world that have looked upon love and said, "This is holy enough to require ceremony." Blessed are the elders who have kept the wisdom, the witnesses who have held the cord, the communities who have gathered to say, "We see you, we hold you, we will be here when you need us." The path walks in the inheritance of all these traditions and bows to each with gratitude. So it is taught, so it is carried forward. The traditions gathered here do not remain as admiration from afar. In the next chapter, the path gathers their common wisdom into its own disciplined practice, a courtship framework that teaches the walker how to move from first attraction toward possible union without haste, entitlement, or self-deception. Alright, so real quick before we wrap this up, I'm going to do a quick collective. I'm not doing a pick a card. I'm not being called to do that right now. So what came out was determining the spirit or guiding archetype of your country at this moment in time. And Spirit wanted me to pull from the Daemon Tarot. So we're going to see. We got Malphus. Malphus is the president of hell who has governance over 40 legions of demons. Demonographers write that he may manifest in the appearance of a man or a raven and that his voice is harsh in either form. Malphus is one of Ware's daemons, listed as a president of hell with 40 military units under his command. One of his forms is that of a raven, and even when he manifests in human form, he is unable to hide his harsh, loud voice. Malphus's specialty is that of architecture and engineering. Not only can he assist those who summon him with building towers and walls that cannot be climbed over or broken down, but also he can point out the structural weaknesses in other structures so that they may be broken down. Oh, I thought that was Stolas for some reason. Never mind, it's Malphus. I think I've mentioned that before. Thought Stolas. I could have sworn that was Stolas. So strange, because actually Stolas is, his form is that of a night raven or an owl, which is kind of similar in the form of Malphus, although he could take the form of a male man as well, and his area of specialty is explaining the values of precious stones and plants. Although many daemons are knowledgeable in the arts and sciences, including the medicinal properties of plants and the mystical qualities of minerals, Stolas's understanding of these items extends past basic understanding into appraisal, considering the difference between knowing the name of a particular artist and having an appraiser give you the value of one of the artist's work. So he kind of like is similar to Malphus in that he evaluates the structural integrity but of plants and stones, so like things in the natural world that are naturally occurring. He employs his knowledge of mystical, monetary, and medicinal objects to give the bearer an accurate picture of those items' uses, properties, and overall value in the world. Alright, so with Malphus, he can also point out the structural weaknesses in other structures so that they may be broken down. Colin de Plancy also mentions Malphus's gifts at finding capable workers and good familiars for those who summon him. Familiars are perhaps less useful in our everyday lives, but a strongly structured company requires a foundation of good workers. So we see that Malphus's skills at building are not only with wood and stone, but also with people. Focus on physical or metaphorical structure, creating strong foundations or finding weaknesses in seemingly indestructible barriers. Oh my god, and look who's on the bottom of the deck. That's wild. And then this is who I get confused is under. It's like very similar. Who's right underneath? Came. Manifests as a blackbird or as a man carrying a sharp sword. So Cain was in the reverse and Stolas was in the reverse. So what this is telling me, Came represents telling the future, having predictions specifically about the future. So what I'm getting automatically is just something saying here that the future of the nation does not involve this building or structural integrity, the towers, regarding the evaluation of plants and stones, natural things in the natural world. Yeah, and so underneath is Mammon, who taught mankind how to strip mine the mountains for gold and other treasures. His name comes from an Aramaic word for material wealth. Yeah, so it's like, you know, that's a big thing right now, is like them just taking from the earth and never giving anything back, or creating structures that work with the earth. So what else do you guys say about that? Yeah, that's who's ruling right now. The trumpets being blown on... The trumpets being blown on this. Yo, I can't make this up. This is crazy. It literally says here, when Paimon is summoned, he is preceded first by a line of trumpeters to announce his appearance, followed by a line of those under his command, then a clang of cymbals and other instruments, and finally he will appear riding his camel very slowly into view. After that grand entrance, Paimon is very arrogant and loud, and it may take some time for the summoner to attract his undivided attention, to pose questions or requests. However, Paimon is very knowledgeable, and it is perhaps understandable that he manifests in such an ostentatious manner out of missing the glory of his former heavenly incarnation. If you can bear with his admittedly long-winded and abrasive entrance, his gifts can be worth the time and effort. He's coming in the reverse, though. So, because people don't want to listen... They don't want to listen to this loud message. We got Beelzebub in the reverse. It's saying he's followed by a line under his command. So we got Beelzebub. How many here? I'm running out of time. 5. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got Beelzebub, Skokes, Asmodeus in reverse, Cochranolus, and Alistair. Vengeance coming in. Alright, so I pulled 10. It said that was the next part was then a clang of cymbals and other musical instruments, and then finally he will appear. So when I pulled 10, this is representing him, Andras. So Andras's most dangerous weapon is not his wolf or his sword, but his tongue. When summoned, he does not outright lie, but he sows discord. In the days when magicians and their assistants summoned powerful demons, Andras was known for turning the assistants against their masters or convincing magicians that their assistants were trying to upstage them. Before summoning Andras, the magician and his assistants would draw out a ring of protection on the floor, in which Andras would be summoned and restrained. During the summoning, Andras was incapable of crossing the unbroken circle, but he would lure those in the room closer to the circle of protection until someone made a mistake and accidentally broke the circle. A single misstep by one person could, of course, mean death for all. However, as Andras' specialty was teaching how best to destroy others, perhaps it could be argued that the risk of summoning him should have been self-evident. And that is who is ruling your country right now, okay? So that's the message I have for you guys today. And that's the message Spirit wants you to see. Okay. And I'll catch you next one. Bye!